What we're going to be talking about on Dial-A-Thought 3168753 is, does God have a body, and what does it mean to have a spirit? What is that all about? And we're going to talk about that. It's about a 2-minute message, and you can just dial it up and listen to my golden tones talking about that. Maybe a 3-minute. You know, I'm not very short. It's probably 3 minutes. It's less than 15. Today we're going to talk about a rather unusual subject, a spiritual concept of the idea of church. When Jesus came, the word church it comes into English from Aramaic is not exactly what we're thinking about. It's a different kind of concept. It is like a gathering in love is what they're talking about. Not necessarily an ecclesiastical body with priests and all the high muckety-muck, you know, all the ones of great wisdom that tell you what to do. That's not exactly what it's talking about. Because Jesus said, remember what he said, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Now, the church has always been under persecution. The physical body has always been under persecution. And many died. And there has been a lot of corruption in what we call church. So that can't be what he was talking about. It simply cannot be what he's talking about. He's talking about a spiritual idea. So one writer that came forward in the 1800s was Mary Baker Eddy, and she's the only one, I think, that I know that gave a definition of church. She said, the structure of truth and love, whatever rests upon and proceeds from divine principle. Well, first of all, now let's understand what principle means. Principle means a law, a foundation, a law. Kind of like it would be the same thing, there would be a principle of gravity. It is a law. We know, of course, in the old days, people didn't know what gravity was. You drop a ball, it falls down. We understand because of the rotation of the earth, there is such a thing as gravity. So this spiritual idea of church, so she gives actually two different definitions. One is the spiritual, the structure of truth and love. That's a spiritual thing. That's an invisible thing. That's something that's in your heart. That's something that's a connection between you and God. And then she goes on to make a rather interesting definition of the physical stuff. She says, the church is that institution which affords proof of its utility and is found elevating the race. Now that's what real meaning of church is. Are you elevated by just having fellowship with church? And then she said, rousing the dormant understanding from material beliefs to the apprehension of spiritual ideas. See, that's really what church is all about. And when someone comes and gives a lesson, or I give a lesson, or wherever it might be, is to elevate your consciousness, to make you think higher than what you did all, well, where did I put my shoes? And by the way, I lost my debit card this morning somewhere. I'll find it. But it's all above and beyond all of that kind of thing. To apprehend spiritual ideas, to get something in your heart that makes a difference in you. And she said, the demonstration, and to prove the demonstration of divine science, thereby casting out devils or error and healing the sick. Just a practical thing. Now understand that the first was a spiritual. And without that spiritual understanding of church, while the outward form becomes less than nice to have around, it becomes very ecclesiastical. Now let's be thinking now for just a moment of church. And church, let's think about church as love. Church as love. Now if you're thinking about, you're sitting here this morning, that's not exactly what we're talking about here now. We're talking about a spiritual concept. First of all, the true meaning of church, the true tabernacle in the wilderness, the true meeting together inside of each one of us It lifts us up. And you should have that same lifting when you come to church. Why would you come to church if you felt bad? If you, for instance, had a lot of guilt and you just felt awful when you left the church, or any meeting. If you went to the Masons and felt awful, why would you do that? You wouldn't do that. So this concept of church lifts us up. So I have to ask a question. And I ask myself this question. Do you feel better or worse by coming to church? I don't want you to answer that. I want to get into something this morning. The Bible says, I will lift up my eyes, or actually that's a concept that means understanding, until the hills, the higher consciousness, high places, from whence comes my help. See, that's where your help comes from. It may manifest as money in the bank. It may manifest as somebody just loving you and helping you out. All of those things. But in reality, it's a spiritual thing. And it's when you lift your eyes, I call it, in Messages from Zion, our mental eyes, looking up to a higher place. Now, the Bible also said, I will lift my holy hands. Now, what does that mean? Your hands. Everybody's doing this nowadays in church. You know that? It used to be that only the Pentecostals did that. And now everybody does it. You know, if you want to do it, that's fine. I don't care. But I will lift up holy hands. What are the hands? The ability to grasp. The ability to grasp hold. To get something out of what we're doing. I will lift up my holy hands unto the Lord. Now let's, for just a moment, let's call what we do here on Sunday morning, it's an ingathering of people. But it's not just an ingathering of people. It's an ingathering of ideas. What happened to you this week? What can you share with us? What can you share? What can I share and tell you that will make me feel better?